What it do, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the debut studio album of Rocko, Self-Made. Now, this album came out in early 2008, and Rocko is basically a rapper from the Atlanta area, and a little bit of backdrop about him. He kind of dropped like some mixtapes and stuff like that. He kind of got a buzz, got signed to So Def Recordings, which was Def Jam, and that was actually back in 2006. So he dropped some mixtapes, was kind of on the mixtape grind, and got himself a massive single called Umma Do Me, which wound up being one of the premier songs of 2008, especially the first half of 2008. And it's just a massive, kind of ubiquitous club track. Maybe it didn't chart hugely, but it definitely was a great street single and gave him a lot of cred and that type of stuff. But yeah, Rocko in the past he kind of came up collaborating with folks like Young Dro and Dem Franchise Boys, who are some other folks. I reviewed Dem Franchise Boys, some folks from the Atlanta area. He's cool with T.I., he's cool with Shoddy Low and Future and Gucci Mane and a bunch of those type people. So there's a lot of folks. He's kind of one of the folks that is kind of behind the net, behind the walls in like the Atlanta scene. He doesn't really drop albums as much anymore, but I guess he's kind of like a ghostwriter and kind of helps behind the boards. I mean, every now and then you'll catch a few appearances of him, but it's just not very frequently. He's kind of seldom seen and that type of stuff. But I still like this album. I would have really liked a few more albums by Rocko. I definitely have to say this album just had like a nice taste of something that kind of reminded me of like a more kind of brash and arrogant version of T.I. without like the concept of him being king of the South. And this has a lot of club cuts and a lot of go-go cuts on here too. It really has some interesting type feels for it, where it's not, it doesn't have strip club moments on here, and it has like one nightclub song. It was just interesting in the way that this album kind of approaches the nightlife. It's different from a lot of other type rap albums that kind of did it. Like T.I. kind of did that stuff, but he just had more kind of ubiquitous type club songs and just crazy songs like What You Know and Big Shit Poppin' and some of those. But really, minus I'ma Do Me, Rocko really does not deliver in terms of massive like singles and that sort of stuff. I mean, he's definitely a good hardcore and underground rapper, but unfortunately most people probably see him as a one-hit wonder just because I'ma Do Me is basically the only real song that ever charted by him, and they just never really gave him a shot beyond that. He just could never get a hook, and quite as the potential is good of a feel of a song as that song. That's just kind of the concept about it. So I'll go ahead and talk about the singles from this album just so you get a taste of what's going on here, just to know what to mess with. So the first single, like I said, this song came out actually in 2007. It had a lot of buzz building up to this project, and it was called Umma Do Me, which is the largest song on this album. Kind of almost made him a one-hit wonder. Some people might say he is a one-hit wonder, but I kind of see this song as just like a taste of like I kind of see this song as like a taste of like an amalgamation of a lot of dirty South and especially Atlanta rap that was going on around that time. So that's just kind of the concept about it. Something that you would expect out of T.I., something that you would expect out of Jeezy, something that you would expect out of like other Atlanta rappers, maybe Ludacris in some cases. I mean, this is a little bit more street than Ludacris usually gets, but just something in that kind of Atlanta feel. Just felt like something that T.I. or Jeezy would do, those type people, even Lil Wayne in some cases. And just a pretty massive song, even if it didn't crack the top 60 of the Billboard 100. Definite good hook, pretty large I'ma Do Me type hook that it kind of has. And this nice kind of gleaming beat, it's a really looming song, and just kind of has that feel, just kind of looking ahead and just kind of having like a real kind of smoking in the club, just kind of really just kind of stunting type, flexing type. It's a flexing song, and I do appreciate that, to kind of get like a flexing song and just kind of overcast and just kind of broad-minded kind of song and stuff, just to kind of see that. So it's a definite brilliant single meant for a night out, and it's just unfortunate that Rocko could not find another song as good as this song. And it's not to say that he couldn't. I mean, I'm definitely going to prove in this review that he has other songs, but in terms of what the public thought, it's unfortunate there weren't more like this. But it is a song on par with some T.I., Jeezy, and other Southern rappers type stuff. It's a great club cut. So the second single is Tomorrow, and I'm kind of surprised that this song didn't chart, just because I would have at least liked to have seen this song being given a chance a little bit, just because this is kind of where the album started to taper off, at least in the public side, is because they didn't really give this single or This Morning, the third single, much of a chance. But Tomorrow, I like this song, and I definitely like the follow-up club cut on here. It's definitely like a nice kind of stepping out kind of feel. It's in the same vein as Umma Do Me, just a little bit quicker pace and that type stuff. I definitely kind of like the kind of creepy and gloomy kind of I definitely like the creepy and gloomy production on this song, but it's kind of kept in an up-tempo feel. But the weakness to this song is just the fact that it's kind of a gimmick song. I mean, the whole song in the verses, Rocko just talks about, he rhymes every part of his rhyme with the word tomorrow. So he keeps saying, like, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to get big tomorrow. I'm going to get lit tomorrow. I'm going to get with tomorrow. And I mean, it's just kind of the situation as far as that kind of goes and stuff. Is this kind of, I like the concept of the topic as far as him talking about tomorrow, but I just wish it wouldn't have been such a gimmick song, because a weakness that Rocko kind of has on this album is he does a lot of gimmick songs on here, like not old school, but like Busy, Tomorrow, Like This Here, and there's like one other song that kind of does it. Yeah, at least Busy, Tomorrow, and Like This Here kind of all have that same kind of gimmick type song where they just keep rhyming the same thing, saying like this here, like this here, like this here, busy, I'm busy, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And it just kind of, I do like the concept of this song. It's not as annoying in Tomorrow, just because he did it at least one time for the three singles, but as this album gets fleshed out more, you'll start to notice that it kind of starts to grow stale rather fast. But I do like Tomorrow. It's a nice kind of lit type, jolted, kind of fast paced, kind of nightclub type song. I definitely recommend that one. It's a pretty good 1-2 punch for Umma Do Me. Just even if the second part of the 1-2 punch is a little bit weaker, I still feel like it's a nice 1-2 kind of vibe towards it, just to kind of say that it kind of gives like a nice kind of impact in like a decent sense. The third single is a very buzzing and kind of mellow type song that just kind of feels perfect for the morning times. It's very sleepy and kind of just like withdrawn in a lot of ways. Doesn't have the night out kind of feel. Doesn't have the night out kind of feel. It's more about the wake up shift in the morning and what you're going to do the next day and that type of stuff. Just getting to the money and that type thing. I mean, you'll get the fact that Rocko is a good musician, but his song topics are kind of like sacrifice somewhat. Like, you'll get the fact that Rocko is a good musician, but the kind of song topics on here are kind of like not, they don't have like an overabundance of flavor to them. Like, they're kind of tactless and tasteless and bland in some cases. And I kind of feel like he just comes off as like a very static hustler in some cases. But it does, I mean, I still like the concept of this being in the song, but it's this kind of where you might, if you're looking for something like Jeezy could pull out of, if you're looking for something that Jeezy could pull out of his hat, like Trap Star or My Hood or Soul Survivor or Go Crazy or those type songs, or T.I. with Why You Wanna or What You Know or Top Back, or like some of those type songs, it's just not really on here. But I do feel like these are good kind of, these are good solid topics, but they're very ground level. That's just kind of the concept about it. So I do like This Morning. It's a nice morning song. I do like This Morning. It's a nice morning song for a nice kind of on the grind, orange juice and toast kind of hustle, just kind of getting out and getting to it and that type of stuff. But it's just kind of the fact that it didn't chart either, and it's a clever topic. I give it credit for that. The thing I'm more complaining about is the rest of the album. As you get into some of these, you'll see that there are some kind of tasteless songs, but this is too bad that Tomorrow and This Morning didn't get the appeal that they needed to, because they definitely deserved it. Tomorrow's another great club cut, and it's a little bit quicker tempo than Umma Do Me, and This Morning is a nice kind of wake up and have some breakfast and get to it kind of song. So that's kind of the concept, but I'm going to go ahead and recommend the rest of the songs I recommend to you. I'm going to go ahead and recommend the 8 songs out of 14 I recommend. So those 8 songs would be Tomorrow, This Morning, She Can Get It, Umma Do Me, Hustle Foe, That's My Money, Thugs Need Love Too, and Karma. So just to kind of talk about some of these. So Hustle Foe is there's actually some go-go songs on here, and I want to talk about some of these just because it's interesting. I'm going to talk about Hustle. I'm going to talk about Hustle Foe and a couple of these just because some of these songs on here are kind of go-go songs. They're not necessarily club type songs, something you'd listen to in a VIP with a bottle of booze or something like that. But it's just kind of more and kind of that promo, kind of stepping out, looking flashy with like the shiny denim and just stunting, looking like you're on a model, like looking like you're on a magazine cover and that type of stuff. Just a little bit flashier and kind of go-go type stuff. Just a little bit flashier and go-go type stuff. I would have to say a little bit more of flossing and just stepping out a bit type feel. So I feel like Hustle Foe, She Can Get It, and Karma are all kind of these go-go type songs that kind of feel like a night out, but not quite as much of like dance club or nightclub or just vanilla club type setting. I kind of feel like these are a little bit, maybe there's music, maybe there's dancing there, but it's not like the main topic and theme as much. Maybe there's not even liquor being sold at where you're at. These are just kind of, more kind of tapered down and watered down kind of club moments where it's not so much the emphasis of like social type. It's not so much the emphasis of like a club type feel of it. But I would have to say that Thugs Need Love To is a nice romantic flavored relationship type song. It's really kind of impressive. I feel like this is one of the most impressive songs on the album. It has a great beat, nice piano, haunting kind of beat that kind of emphasizes the fact that Rocko is kind of bewildered in the song, and Rocko definitely appreciates the women that he has and that type of stuff. I just would have to say it's just a nice touch. It's kind of emphasized, and it's kind of the type of song that I think Tupac would make if he were around in those times. I definitely think this is a nice kind of thuggish type song with like a very nice R&B and kind of like romantic relationship type feel towards it. It was kind of unexpected for Rocko to kind of pull that one out of nowhere like that, pull that one out of the hat. That's My Money is kind of a nightclub type song. I was impressed by this one. This really had like it's probably the most haunting beat on here. I definitely felt like it's probably the one that's the most riveting in terms of being at a night venue and kind of having your night and kind of popping bottles and that type of stuff, watching the twerking and making it rain and that type of stuff, and just having a good time, smoking swishers, that sort of thing. It definitely works for how that kind of concept kind of goes. And I just overall like that one. It's probably the most riveting nightclub song on here besides Tomorrow. I actually feel like it's more riveting than Umma Do Me. Maybe not the better song than Umma Do Me, but definitely Umma Do Me, Tomorrow, and That's My Money are the three club songs I would recommend to go for in terms of stepping out in that sort of sense. Those are all the nice ones. And then there's some go-go songs like I talked about. So it just has an interesting kind of appeal, but so in terms of what I'm going to score this album, me liking 8 songs out of 14, I'm going to go ahead and give this album a 6.75 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty rock solid to kind of do that. And there's definitely some gems on here that I appreciate, and I would have to say that it has a nice appeal towards it. It's just really too bad that Rocko basically got the shaft in terms of his publicity. I mean, I admit that some of these gimmick songs are really stale, and that's kind of, I guess I could talk about some of the moments I didn't like uh, Snake's Meal, Priceless, Old School, and Busy all kind of have some awkward type ones. I really didn't like Meal at all. That was the most out of place. That one just really felt way more homely than I would have wanted. Snakes was just kind of a story song that I wasn't enjoying. Old School had a horrid beat, probably one of the worst beats on this whole album, minus Meal. I feel like Old School and Meal are probably the worst produced songs on here. I mean, I know it's trying to be a song talking about old school rides and that type stuff compared to new school rides, but it's just a horrid song for driving around in. I just cannot see people wanting to ride out to that song. Busy, I kind of would have liked. I would almost say that that's an almost song, but if it wouldn't have been a gimmick song, I probably would have said that, but I just could not get into that one. And then some of these other ones are just kind of weak kind of cuts that just don't have enough bravado to really kind of get to that. But that's just kind of the concept about it. So 6.75 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty rock solid. There's enough cuts on here. It's just too bad that Rocko. It's just too bad that Rocko didn't get the publicity that he needed, because I could have definitely seen him as being like a substitute for Ti, and even a substitute for Jeezy and some of those type folks if he had been given the chance. But he just was not able to pull another rabbit out of the hat with another song like Umma Do Me. But I do feel like Tomorrow was pretty close. I definitely think that was a pretty close one of doing that if it just wouldn't have been a gimmick song. And the social score, I'm gonna give like a 7.5 out of 10 to the social score. Though I'm gonna give a 7.5 out of 10 to the social score though, just because I kind of feel like these go-go songs are very catchy and they have a nice type feel towards them. If you're just kind of sick of like club type songs, but you still want some stepping out kind of moments, these just really feel like some nice promo songs to kind of go out to. And then the club songs are nice on here too. So there's just some good moments for that sort of thing. And then you get two extra songs. You get the relationship song Thugs Need Love Too. And then you get the nice morning hustle kind of breakfast song and This Morning. So there's just some good stuff there. But yeah, I would have to say Rocko has a nice touch as far as stepping out and kind of having that kind of vibe about what to do. It's just interesting kind of get some of those moments. And in terms of the future, like I said, Rocko's dropped a number of mixtapes and independent albums. He's definitely on that independent scene a lot. It's more of the low key. He never dropped another project like this one that kind of is in stores and has broke the mainstream airwaves and that type of stuff. I would have to say I still respect the hustle that he had and the quality of this project and the stuff that he did with it. I really would have liked another Rocko studio album. Would have been great. But I'm going to mess with some of his mixtapes and a few other projects to see what's good with them.